business side as well.
Yeah.
Going into business from football, what has that kind of taught you the most?
Being reliant from teammates, and now I look at that as I operate a business as a team captain. But he found a way to make me want to work hard, and I wanted to work hard for him.
Right.
It was just something that he got out of me, and that took me into a whole new level. And I just saw him as an idol as well.
Nice.
So I knew one day, I wasn't going to be good enough to cut a professional player, but I was like, I wouldn't mind being in a similar position where I can coach or I can help people like he's helped me, where he's inspired people like me as well. So that was the main thing that got that out of me. It was just a resonation between myself and him, and his values and how he liked to play and how he held himself as a general person, I think, which was the most important thing.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I am your host, Luke, and I'm just going to give it away straight away. We do have a guest who is named Luke, by the way, so I'm going to introduce him properly in just a second. But I'm very, very excited because we actually are in the same industry. He's actually a personal trainer and an online coach, and recently branded out to work with entrepreneurs, executives, and business owners. So this is going to be a really, really powerful episode. But I actually want to share a little bit about how we kind of met. So this is what I love about the fitness industry, is that we connect, we collaborate, and we just speak behind the scenes. Luke's kind of reached out to us. We've met each other in a gym before and just kind of follow each other's journey. And here we are. He reached out. We're on the episode, and we're just going to delve into his story on a deeper level, because ultimately with this podcast, we want to make sure that we are going below the surface. And just before I go into the episode, I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support, your feedback, and your comments so far. It's been absolutely amazing. And please keep sharing and letting us know your feedback as we go along, because myself and Oliver, we do love feedback. All right. So Luke, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, thrilled to come on. Got reached out to you, just wanted to be able to come and share my story and be able to help other people. And as well, I've obviously seen your journey unfold, being in a similar gym space, but also how you've sort of gone into different areas of business in a very similar space as mine.
Yeah, no, and it's great to have you here as well, Luke. I mean, the thing for me, I think what stands out, obviously with you, and we're gonna unravel and go really deep on this, is the fact that you've come from a place of like you say, finding your feet, not really sure knowing what you're doing. Then you've gone to what most people realise once they've done it themselves is look after number one.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Then it kind of opens the mind, and then everything just falls into place as a back of that. So we'll go to that place later on in the episode. But I think what's a really good place to start is, who was Luke as a child? Like what was like your, like if you was to ask your mum and dad today and go, Mum, Dad, what was I like as a kid?
Oh.
What was that like?
Yeah, I'm sure they'd give you an answer where you'd have a little bit of a giggle to yourself.
We love that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was full of character as a child, very sporty in nature.
Yeah.
Me and my sister were both brought up to participate in sports, be very healthy. And have good habits. They enforced that from such a young age. Myself, from the age of 4, was kicking a football, and my sister was also a gymnast at a great level throughout her athletic career as well. Both very sporty, both very happy. Whenever I look back at my childhood, I was a happy child.
Oh, nice.
And I always reflect on that, and I always remember what they gave us, because I know some people aren't as fortunate as well.
Sure.
So I feel super lucky to have had that childhood. Me as a child, very cheeky, in school, very disruptive, naughty, in a way, in terms of acting like a class clown, wanting to show off in front of my friends and be popular, I suppose, as well. So that's what I was sort of like as a child, and how my personality developed from a young age.
Yeah. But I think that's really good what you've just said there, that, from such a young age as well, your parents obviously exposed you to sport, got you in great habits, discipline, preparation, performance, 100%. Obviously your sister as well, being in that. If you was to think like back then in the environment, I mean, I know we're kind of going away from yourself here, but was it something that your mum and dad did, and how they exposed you to this to kind of nurture you into sport? Were they into sport themselves? Yeah, just tell us a bit about that.
No, it's a very good question. Both of them are huge admirers of sport.
Okay.
My mum is a massive admirer of physical activity.
Good.
A lover of football. didn't really participate in a lot of sport as a child, some perhaps, but my dad and his father, my late grandfather, heavily into sport and really pushed me towards the participation of multiple sports, mainly football, golf, a little bit of rugby at school. Loved watching boxing. Unfortunately, Mum would never ever let me go to a boxing class, never mind step into a ring or think about putting some gloves on. So that is where my sporting background comes from, and like you said there, I think the principles of preparation, recovery and so forth, without them heavily enforcing it on me, it's what me and my sister were both doing as children, because we both had hectic schedules as children, and that sort of, I think, is what has brought me to where I am today, because of those principles and how I align myself with that and the people that we do help as well. So yeah, I'd definitely say those experiences are really key there.
Yeah, no, they're really good what you're sharing. It's just, what's interesting to me, what you've shared is, obviously we are going to connect the dots as we go through, and it's going to be great for you as a reflection on like your past and think, oh, actually interesting, it's not just a loop, but how it's all been kind of going towards a certain place. And obviously you're only still young, you're 28, you've still got a long life ahead of you, and it will continue to expand from that. That they was lovers of it. Obviously they had standards. I think that's a good word to use, personal standards. They drilled that into you. But did, just as a question, because I have spoken to a lot of high performers, business owners, and sometimes they felt a lot of pressure from their parents, like, to the point where, they feel they've got no way out. It's like, I've just got to keep proving it for my dad, proving it for my mum, and then obviously eventually something happens. But for you, did you feel that, or did you always feel like you could be yourself and not much pressure around that, be honest? Yeah,
really good question. I felt both.
Okay.
But I never felt it to a point that it ever made me fall out of love with what I did.
Oh, good.
Or that it was too much that it stopped my relationship with my mum or dad. They were always so supportive in whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But my dad heavily, and my grandfather, as I'm sure you know yourself, very wanted you to do well. Sure. If you was on the football pitch and you wasn't working hard enough, they would tell you
100%.
Whether you're on a pitch for West Hallam Juniors or whether it was at Forest, at Derby or at Ilkeston, they'd be the first to tell you from the sideline before Gaffer would. But I went through my footballing career from, like I said, 4 up until 19, and they got to a point when I reached 16 years old when games weren't as often on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning anymore, because of the level we was playing at. We was playing on Wednesday lunchtime and Thursday evening, and some of those games were behind closed doors. Dad couldn't come, and I really missed that on the sideline, that push. That what I didn't realise at the time was really making me elevate my game, and he just wanted the best for me. But like I was saying, it never ever put me off wanting to participate in sport or football, absolutely not. And my grandfather was a massive responsibility for that as well. Like the other people that came to watch us, he was a very well-known figure there vocally, but they all loved him as well. He was such a good laugh, and it was brilliant to have them watching me and spurring me on. But absolutely no regrets about how parents influenced that sport and how pressurising it was at some times to perform in high environments. No question. No,
and that's really good. It's good how you shared it from a point of when you obviously got older, and then it wasn't you weren't exposed to it as much. You felt that difference. So how important do you feel then your parents' input and that push and that support in your corner has contributed to your success today?
It's the whole reason as to who I am now, in terms of the values that I hold, in terms of hard work, good communication, work ethic, and accountability. By them, my father and my grandfather and my mum being at the side of the pitch and really trying to motivate you. It's holding you accountable to do the thing that you want to do. And I look at that now, and that is just naturally installed within me. I don't have to get somebody else to get that out of me. That is just something that will stick with me forever, and it's really good that I can use that tools and apply that forwards to push our brand and work with who we work with ultimately.
No, that's brilliant, and obviously I can really feel it as well from you that there's a lot of support there, there's a lot of backing, which is good, and obviously that's really good. And you've had a very positive childhood. I just want to flip it on its head a little bit. Obviously I don't like to be negative in podcasts, but also it's really important, maybe there might be somebody listening today that have gone through a similar journey to yourself and might have thought, they probably don't hear about that enough, and we're talking from a male perspective here as well, probably not talking openly about our emotions. So if you was to look back at your childhood, we will go into your football in a second, because I love football, obviously, you know me. What do you feel has been probably a moment, if you can recall a moment as a kid, or it could be 9, 10, early teenage, that was the hardest moment for you, and it was something that really did affect you, or if you can recall any of that?
The hardest moment for me was actually my parents splitting. When I was representing Nottingham Forest at the time in the academy, I was playing for the under 9, so I was under 9 or under 8, and my parents unfortunately split in the family home that we was living in. At the time, even when I was that age, I always felt like, oh, it's just one of those things, I can deal with it. I didn't really know that I was suffering and struggling to deal with it, because it was more coming out at school in terms of the behaviour aspect. I was struggling to concentrate, collaborate with other students really well. I was struggling with grades because I just looked at it as it wasn't going to take me anywhere in life.
Right.
So my learning took a little bit of a hit at this point.
Okay.
But it was something that I didn't realise until later ages. Yeah. Actually, looking back at that, actually, I did suffer quite a little bit with that, and probably even as a child, you probably don't discover as many emotions, but now looking back as a man, I realised that I should have opened up about that more.
Okay.
Because I did get support from some teachers, but I just saw myself as a kid, as a male, that was like, I've just got to deal with this.
Yeah.
And not speak about it. And I look at how my dad deals with things as well. My dad's very similar to me in the sense that he will just get on with it, don't speak about it to anybody, and take responsibility to yourself. And I think that's really important, that when you mentioned there that there might be people watching, that males as well, that have gone through experiences like that, or even a lot more traumatic, that struggle to open up and talk about things like that. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, that you do that. I think it's actually incredibly mature that you are able to access that part of you and your brain, where you can open up and you can find something in you to really push on and try and help yourself as much as possible.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, Luke, as well. I think it's, obviously I know it's not always easy. I mean, people say, I'm open to share about it, but sometimes it's hard. So, for you, I'd love to know, because obviously 9 years old, you're still young. Yeah. Trying to get even in tune with your emotions, it's tough, because you're still expressing yourself, still out there, being a child. Time's non-existent. You're just going through life, enjoying it, So when did you realise in your career, your life, football, whatever it may be, obviously I know you said you were playing up at school a little bit, when did it come to you as like, okay, so I know now why my behaviour has changed, or I know why now I'm being this, I don't know, cock or whatever at school, just being this person, because of that was the reason that I probably didn't talk about it, was because mum and dad split up. Yeah,
so it was around the age of 14 or 15 when I was heading into year 10 at school, that I was still receiving support from people. There was just a little bit more of a maturity at that age, where I realised, oh, actually, okay, so that's why I've been struggling, and now I need to understand that, reflect on that, and ultimately try and improve my behaviour a little bit. Behaviour did improve, but I still didn't have the value on education that I do now, of course.
Sure.
And I just wanted to be able to go to school and mess around and see my friends ultimately. But it was mainly around that year 10 when I was loving my football. I really started to love football at this point, because I'd left academies, I was playing with my friends. So all these realisations sort of came that I've been missing this enjoyment so much. And this is where my character and my personality started to grow at this point a little bit more, especially at that top end of senior school, where other people do bring it out of you. But I sort of started to recognise myself a little bit more at that point, and I became much happier.
So this is really good then. So where did you find the happiness then?
It was in playing football with my friends, but also understanding that I could both have my mum and dad as equally as I wanted.
Nice.
And it wasn't like just one, and it wasn't just the other. There was a routine or a structure that I sort of went through, where I'd have X amount of time with mum, and then X amount of time with dad, like 5 weekdays, 2 weekends, and then sometimes we'd rotate because they were still living in the same vicinity, like it was a walk away, which was really good. And there was a lot going on in the house, especially with like my sister and both my parents as well. That there was a bit initially when they first broke up, there was a bit of division as well.
Yes.
I was just a typical, going back to it, just a typical lad that just wanted to play football. So I was just like, oh, whatever. We get more Christmas presents. Who cares? All this sort of stuff. But no, it was definitely later in life when I realised the value in both of them, and they still loved us to pieces. But I found my happiness in playing football with my friends, and then of course finding that love, not just seeing them as mum and dad, but seeing the separate people as well. I think, and the relationships that they were in, and seeing them happy also made me realise, actually, you know what, they're both really happy. I'm now really happy.
Nice.
So what they went through is all worth it in the end. Although obviously some experiences were difficult, but.
Of course, mate, of course. But I think as well, what's really nice is how, you know, I'm not wanting to say this is cliche, like, oh, everything kind of works out in the end. But, you know, it's gone to where it needs to go, but you've still found happiness in that, which I think is really key. And obviously you said football was a place where you felt happy, but also the fact that I guess that pressure got a bit away. You could go and play with friends, you got a bit more social as well. So obviously going on to your football journey now then, what would you say has been like the biggest learning for you? Now, obviously, I know we're going to the business side as well. Going into business from football, what has that kind of taught you the most?
Being reliant from teammates, and now I look at that as I operate a business as a team captain, and I've got loads of teammates of people who I obviously coach and direct in one way or another, but communication, good leadership, punctuality, and so forth. It's all those things that sort of align. I had a coach when I was at Ilkeston, and he really shaped me into the character that I am today, purely because of how I resonated with him. I respected his values. I loved the way he played football. I had a really good friendship relationship with him as well, and I really respected him. I went from being a decent footballer, technical, middle of the park, but didn't cover the most distance, and thought I could cruise through games. Until we got to a certain level, and that became really difficult because the quality of player was almost identical, if not better, in all honesty. And I was starting to get found out a little bit. And I was probably one of the better players in my team, but he found a way to make me want to work hard, and I wanted to work hard for him. It was just something that he got out of me, and that took my game to a whole new level. But again, it is those values of discipline, hard work, and work ethic. And classic saying, talent isn't everything. Hard work
beats talent.
It beats it every single time. Reflect on that, and if you can combine the two, then you're in for a great recipe of success. So
that's brilliant. I mean, I'm just nodding my head and I'm taking it in. I'm like, I'm literally on the same page as you. I love the teamwork aspect. I love the fact that you're seeing it as you're the captain, so that you're obviously a leader, right? And you've got a team. Hopefully no one's on the bench. But you know, you're all a collective. I know what you're saying. So you know your coach. I'd love to know, what if you look back on him as a coach, what did he actually do that just made it click for you, or found something that probably you didn't see that was inside of you in terms of potential?
It's a difficult, in terms of narrowing it down and identifying specifically what it was, is very difficult. But I think comes back to why we got on so well, and how I respected him as a person, because he was actually a coach outside of football that had a lot of banter. Really funny, did things to wind me up, did things to wind all the other players up. Like the last person to get on the minibus, they'd do something too. And but other things that he did outside of that, like his values of like going to the gym, staying healthy, very similar interests, very similar way of how he liked to play football. And, I think it was 2000 and the 2011 to 14 Barcelona, like he tried to model off that, and I was like, I absolutely love this, because I was watching that as a kid on a Wednesday night in the Champions League every week, Tuesday, Wednesday evening. I was this is how I want to play football, and I just saw him as an idol as well. So I knew one day, I wasn't going to be good enough to cut a professional player, but I was like, I wouldn't mind being in a similar position where I can coach, or I can help people like he's helped me, where he's inspired people like me as well. So that was the main thing that got that out of me. It was just a resonation between myself and him, and his values and how he liked to play, and how he held himself as a general person, I think, which was the most important thing.
But I think what I like there as well, you said about, he's got a coach, so he's got his like pro hat on kind of thing, but then he's got that fun side as well,
personal,
right? The personal side, dropping and he's not trying to force anything, just being himself, and it kind of removes that little bit of pressure from what maybe, because I mean, again, when you've got a coach and they're your idol, you might feel that bit of pressure in a way. You want to prove yourself. You want to prove that you're worthy and like, I'm good enough and all that kind of stuff. But obviously for you, you had that, which is pressure's healthy, but then at the same time, you also knew that it's a human being and it's fun and it has a bit of banter. And then obviously that has inspired you to think, do you know what? He's given me this, but now I actually want to give that to others as well.
Yeah, I think the first part of what you said there, it just made me realise that's why he got that out of me.
Right.
Purely because of, I forgot what you said now, mate, but again,
the banter side, the personal side.
Yeah, and that I suppose I hadn't been a hard-working player up until that point, but I sort of resonated with that, and then all of a sudden I felt like I had to give that hard work back to him.
Okay.
Because we were a struggling team at the time, and we were devoid of like a couple of hard workers and so forth. But it just made sense for me to actually go, hold on, I really respect him as a person. I really like him. I went from just being like big time Charlie, I suppose, to I'm gonna run through walls for you.
Brilliant.
And that's where it all changed. I went from being probably middle of the pack in terms of like the distances, the tests and stuff. I was second, third, first sometimes as well. So it was like that sort of, I don't know what the word's called, reciprocity, is it?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Reciprocating
that same energy, like in terms of what he gave me. I felt like I felt in debt that I had to then give that back.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Powerful position he's got, though, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. It is. And he's somebody I actually went on to work for as well, by the way.
No way.
Yeah, went to work for him. It was, so I'd obviously left Ilkeston at the age of 19.
Yeah. He
left Ilkeston to go and work in Mansfield. He's still at Mansfield now. He's a big part of the YDP. I think he's head of the part of the academy.
Nice.
After I'd finished my university degree, I knew he was still working football. We were still in touch.
Yeah, of course.
On social media and stuff. And I actually bumped into him in a local pub of Ilkeston. I was going through my undergrad. I was building the business, as we spoke about earlier, and I was sort of saying, what are you doing with yourself now? And he sort of told me, I tell you what, I'll come and work with you for free. I need some experience. Would you take me on for free? I'd love to come and work for you because of all those experiences before. If that was a coach that I didn't really have much of a relationship with, I'd have gone, oh, great to see you. Of
course you did.
I'd have walked out the door and shook his hand, but I was like, you're in that position, that's exactly where perhaps I want to go. Can I come and work for you? I'll come and do 3 hours. I need some experience. Is that a possibility? And we ended up meeting again later down the line, and we worked together as well. So I went from his captain to part of his staff, which was an incredible experience. And it is about who you know, isn't it? And
1,000,000%.
The experiences that you've had that sort of align and bring you together, I think.
Yeah,
that was massive.
It does, man. And I love what you've shared there. And I know I keep saying it, but you've obviously got a good head on your shoulders, Luke. You obviously got a definitely work ethic. It comes from your childhood, definitely.
Yeah,
but getting brought up. But the fact that I like that, like giving a good, you're both giving without any sort of expectation. It's like they're doing it because they love it.
Yeah,
and they can be themselves outside of it, And I think that personal side, and for you as well, being able to go, you've given me so much, I want to give something back. And then you naturally just bump into each other, and then he takes you under his wing again in a way, and then he's, giving you these opportunities, and you're still working that way, I think is just brilliant.
It's the way that it works, isn't it? And we're still in touch to this day, and, he messaged me about a year ago, I think, or maybe less than that there was a certain club that were looking for somebody that had got the qualifications, but obviously it wasn't right for us now where we're going, but and he'll often message me for help as well in relation to his finish. Right. So like, what do you think about this? Or how do I do this?
Yeah.
So we're still firmly in touch, and we've got a good relationship with his family as well. We've coached his lad, who's a very good footballer as well at pro level. So when there is that sort of stuff, when you get on with the family, you nurture relationships as well. Like I've got obviously members I have on board with myself where we have good relationship with not just the individual but the family.
Right,
and
good.
It helps.
Yeah,
it really does help because obviously they value your time as well. Yeah, which is marvelous. So I think that's.
But it is. It's that relationship. It's that connection. I mean, obviously you can tell he was you said he shaped your career, and it brought the best out in you. Obviously, it helped you become a different type of player, but it was still you. So, in like your footballing career terms, was there a moment that Because obviously we know that when we win, or not win, but when we have positives, we learn from it.
Yeah.
But also failure, also dark moments, low parts can also be feedback and can help us learn and grow as an individual. So for you, was there a moment in your footballing career that was a low moment that maybe could help people watching today who are in football or got kids in football?
Of course, yeah. Multiple. Having worked in football with such a variety of young children, as well as gone through the academies, absolutely. I think my first, I wouldn't say negative, but when I was 6 years old, this was 2002, so football academies weren't as solidified and structured as what they are now, because it's scary now. But I was with Derby from the age of 6. The only age category they had was an under 9s. Right. So if you can put a kid at 6, comparison to an under 9. Yeah, it was honestly terrifying. Big game, I remember it. And I'd impressed at a training camp, a local training camp in Ilkeston, and Derby had sort of thought, we want to have a look at this lad. And again, versus, they were huge. And I remember walking through the door in my first session. I did the session. I didn't like it. Second session, I said to my dad, I don't want to train, but I just want to go and watch. Because it was almost like I was dipping my toe in, but I was just a little bit too scared. And in all honesty, it was too much for me. After that second time of going and spectating, I never went back. Right. Do I regret it now? Yes, but are you in control of that? Absolutely not. That was a huge. So I wouldn't say it was negative. But it was certainly the first memory that I have in football of. Maybe it's not everything it's meant to be as well. But at the same time, obviously, what the academy systems, they didn't have what I needed as a 6-year-old. There may have been other clubs like Forest and Leicester that had pre-academies and under-7s at that point. I'm not too sure. But that was terrifying. So that was the first experience. Second experience was when I was actually working with this coach, as we've spoke about a lot already. I was 17 years old. Started working hard, decent player. We played a side from Lincoln. And I came up against a central midfielder. I thought I was decent. Yeah. He ran me around for 90 minutes. Yeah. I was absolutely blowing, gasping for air, and I was like, hold on a second, am I that good? Am I a decent player? It made me second question myself. But having reflected on that straight away, it's like you're going to come up against players that are better than you 100%. All the time. And it's like you sometimes you can get caught up in yourself, like you think you're decent, you think you're good, and actually the reality is like there's millions and millions of other players out there, and the probability is there's a lot better than you as well. So that was a massive wake-up call for me, and then I realised actually, so perhaps technically I'm okay at a level, but I'm not as good as what I want to be. Well, what can I do? Obviously at 17, you can still develop technically, but I was like, looking back, I was like, I've got to work harder. Went back to that hard work principle. I was like, I've just got to work harder. I've got to run more than anyone else. I've got to make more sprints than anyone else. And in order to do that, I've got to be fitter than anyone else. So went on to work relentlessly on my physical fitness outside of training. So we were full-time. We trained every single day. Had a game on Wednesday. And I was playing Saturday afternoon as well. And I'd finish training and then finish my college work in the afternoon. I'd go home. Do you remember the workouts, Insanity?
Yeah, of course I can. Wild. I did them max 30. They're crazy, aren't they?
So I used to go home and do that. The coach who I, again, resonated with, he used to do that. And he was like, yeah, that's brilliant for your hit. You're a bit. So I was like going home and doing that. Slaughter me. And then after that, I'd have my chicken and rice. I'd go to the gym and I'd lift weights. Little do we know now that I know stimulus, threshold and all that sort of stuff, it was way too much. But looking back at it, I was like, that's what transformed me into wanting to work so hard that I'd have done anything that it would take to get me to a level where I was happy. So they were the experiences that really changed me.
Interesting. Yeah, I can relate to that because I did exactly a similar thing. So when I actually got released from full-time football, I was at Pure Gym, so I moved back home, Pure Gym, but I'd do Insanity in the morning, go to the gym in the afternoon, and it was like 6 days a week, and it was like, I'd even a day off wouldn't be a day off, I'd just do cardio. So yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I was there going, but everybody else is still full-time or something, they're working on me, I've got to double session, got to keep going up, and you just, you kind of burn the candle at both ends kind of thing. So for you, what happened after football then? Because that was a big part of your life.
It was a massive part of my life. I got to a point when, you hit 18. Yeah. Other distractions come along, don't they? There was a particular friend that I had that was also in the academy, great friend, and still goes on. He's wonderful footballer. He still plays now.
Nice.
He was excelling a little bit when I turned 18. There was a massive difference in what I was doing and what he was doing. And of course, all the other players were doing. Thursday night, student night, Rock City. Friday night, Forum in town. Saturday night as well. And Sunday out with the lads watching football at the pub. And it was like that lifestyle no longer aligned with what I wanted from football. And eventually, when I was 19, I stopped playing football because I was sick of playing full time. I also realised that I didn't like playing Saturday afternoon because I'd miss watching my own team, Nottingham Forest, and time with my dad as well. I love watching Forest with my dad. I value that more than anything, regardless of whether you get paid a couple of £100 to play at the weekend. I still wouldn't take it now.
No,
still wouldn't take it.
I know
now.
what you're saying.
I'd do exactly what I do now, just to sit at Forest or travel away with them or sit on the sofa and watch Saturday on the TV. After I stopped playing football, I hit a little bit of I wouldn't say a depression, but I would say I hit a little bit of a low point.
Okay.
Hit a little bit of a low point where I didn't feel too well in myself. There was a lot going on with my stomach as well, and we'd spoke to the doctors, and they'd sort of come back and said, we think this is probably a little bit of a very mild form of possible depression.
Okay.
Having something that I had from the age of 4 up until 19, and then for me to make the decision that I was going to take that completely away, I really struggled to handle anything, and I didn't know how to, what things to do outside of college, outside of work. I was like, I'm going to work full time here on a checkout in Sainsbury's, going through a PT qualification. It still seems like quite a lot, but without football, I was like, who am I? I sort of lost my whole purpose of what Luke Ashton is or was, and it took me a while to find out what it was that I wanted to do. But it still came from the principles in sport. So after football, it was a very, very challenging time for me to find myself again.
No, that's powerful what you shared, because that loss will tap into the loss of identity. Because again, I can relate to that, Luke. Being in sport, cutting it off. I was literally, Ollie's in the background here. I was talking to him outside about it. At 21, I cut it dead. Within 3 months, I was on a cruise ship 9 months away from home.
Wow.
So it was a massive change.
A huge change.
But the reality was it was a reset in a way. Didn't realise it at the time. Still got offered football when I was out there. But what you said there, and I know parents listening to this, whenever they listen to this, I know ex-athletes or people who's currently in football, in anything, even Army, Navy, Marines, whatever, anything, even retirement, when you've been working all your life for 40 years and then you go to nothing. Everybody can probably go, I'm bored, or I feel a bit depressed, I'm down in the dumps. What do I do?
Yeah.
Where's the gap? Because the gap's so big now, because it's been part of you, your identity. So I'd love to know then, when you said it took you a while, just from what did you do to start building that new identity, or that identity again?
Good question. So having lost all my purpose, it was important to reflect on what really mattered to me still.
Yeah.
And whilst I was still looking back at when I was still playing football, there were certain things that I really loved. Obviously, I was going through my PT qualification, and I was sort of thinking, well, when I played football, what did you really enjoy doing? I loved doing the sort of extended warm-ups, the SAQ and the foot ladders, although it may not be the best stuff. I was actually really enjoyed doing that sort of stuff and training specifically for sport. And all of a sudden, I sort of had the football, and then I had that sort of physical side of things, that I was trying to be the strongest, the fastest, the fittest that I could possibly be for football. And I was like, got a personal training qualification. I love athletic principles. What if we combine the two, and one day you could work with elite level athletes and you can help kids or even adults that have been in your situation to develop their career? That was the realization, that I wanted to work in elite sport and work with individuals right from age of 7 all the way up to master athletes, to help them improve their athletic qualities.
Brilliant.
So it was like, put 2 and 2 together, and all of a sudden I found a fresh lease of life and a really fresh love for not just football and admiring those athletic qualities, but in my job as well. It was like I loved what I was doing anyway, but I was like, wow, this is really like something that's gonna stick with me forever, I think. So putting those two together was the most important part, 100%.
No, that's brilliant, and I like the fact that you found a fresh new perspective. You found another avenue, but you combined what was once part, well, still part. You know, it's ingrained in you. You know, it's something you were passionate about, but you've been able to find that different kind of way. You know, for you though, I mean, if there was somebody watching this today,
yes,
that was like in a place where maybe they come into, even like when footballers come to the end of their career, it's like obviously some going to pundits, some going that, you know, what would you be saying to them if they're already feeling like they're losing their identity, but they don't want to lose it? They've got that fear of loss, which we normally have, and they want to go into, obviously they can find out what matters and stuff, but what would you say to them that really kind of, if you was to say, this really did help me, not telling them what to do, but maybe giving them a bit of context on?
I think just reflecting on like who you are as a person and what really matters to you. What really mattered to me was being strong, fit and healthy. Again, it was those experiences from a younger age that my mum and dad had really forced into my identity that made that matter. And I was like, I've left sport, I've got to find a way to not only inspire people, because I've been given that from somebody else and now I want to do that, but also to stay strong, fit and healthy. So have a little bit of reflection on who you are. And if you do find yourself going through a little bit of a rut, it's completely normal.
Yeah.
Like if you speak to the amount of elite level athletes, especially post the Olympics, I know Keely Hodgkinson was one to speak about it, the 400 metre runner, that depression and all this other stuff. It's very, very challenging. It's completely normal, I think, to hit certain highs and then sort of sometimes feel lost. I think over time you will always find your way, and you always have to follow your heart and know what you want to do. And to speak to people about it. Something I didn't do was speak to people about it. I was, again, that lad that just dealt with it myself. I didn't really speak to my mum or dad about what I wanted to do. It was almost like, do you want to carry on playing football? And I was like, I don't think so. And it was just like, boom, done.
Do you think that was because they wanted you to become a footballer, and then you was kind of in a way like, I don't know whether I want to be it anymore, so you didn't want to let them down or in any way?
Yeah, it was. It was because of how invested they were into me as a child, and my sister as well. It was almost like my sister had stopped at a much younger age, and then I had stopped, and I was almost like, there's a burden of pressure on me here. But I don't think they ever was in reality like they were always going to shove me towards playing football and be the athlete of the family or whatever. But there's other members of my family as well that came up to me like, Luke, you've stopped playing football, I can't, and they were genuinely gutted. I was like, it hit me, I was like, oh, was I supposed to continue to keep other people happy? But then again, that reflection point, like, you're what matters the most. So I would definitely say to them, especially if you have had pressure, which is normal to feel pressure from parents, and you're in a situation where maybe you don't want to go forward and play in sport, is you have to be happy in doing so. I know we spoke about before this started, you have to be happy in whatever it is that you do.
100%.
That is the main thing.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think just on the who you are part, it's something that obviously this is why we're here, today. It's like, who are you beyond the boardroom? Who are you beyond your work? Who is Luke, right? That checking in, you do it in business. People stop every week. It's like, not put the brakes on, but they just stop what they're doing and they sit at their week and go, what's my adherence been like? What's my sleep? It's slowing down, isn't it?
It is.
It's just going check. I mean, if we think about it, in even in today's world, everything's so fast. Everything's pressured, everything's validation, everything's status, everything's ego.
Social media.
Yeah. So you've just said there, right, that you lost your identity, and the thing that really helped was checking in. Was that who you are? And now, you're doing it with others, you're doing it with yourself, continued today. So I think that's brilliant.
Absolutely. It's still something that I do every Sunday now, is I do a weekly reflection. I'm sure you do the same.
Yeah. It's powerful, mate.
Powerful. Just reflecting on what went well for the week and what things, goals, objectives do you want to discover for that following week. But I think as a younger person, it's really important to really try and tap into your brain from when you're younger and just have a little think about what it is that you really want to do, and in ways that you can inspire yourself as well, as following other people and looking at other athletes or inspirations that are doing things that you may want to do, but also realising that it's okay to have a change of heart at some point too. From some of the kids that I work with, now I think with schools, there's a lot of heavy pressure on know what you want to do straight away.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know people like, for example, my mum's had career changes at 30 and 40 and gone into other aspects as well. So definitely no pressure to sort of know what you want straight away, whether that is to leave sport or to go into a certain profession. But always try and find ideas and inspiration and speak to people. I think the most important part of this is actually talking to people, and whether that is like refining your identity or wanting to find out a little bit more about something. I had just 2 days. What day are we on?
We're on Monday.
We're on Monday. It's been a long weekend. Can't wait for the weekend. Look
for the weekend.
Absolutely, we are. No. But I think it was Thursday or Friday. I had a young lad come up to me at the gym, and he sort of said, "Oh, are you a personal trainer?" I was like, "Yeah." And he sort of asked for some work experience on the spot. I thought, "Oh, great's that."
Yeah, of course,
he's got a little bit of an idea. He's not been scared to go and approach someone and pitch that idea. And I just think that's amazing. And straight away on the spot, I was like, "Yes, let's get it sorted. We'll connect with school, and then I would love to help you." But that also comes back to the coach and how he helped me. I look at that now that I owe that to other children to help them, other kids, probably to help them with the career paths as well. Like yourself, I know you do the same with mentoring, don't you?
That's great though, Luke. The fact that, but again, you've been experienced that. I think if we look at a lot of like the society today, and just I talk to other guys as well, and female business owners as well. It's so much of a taking thing. Like, what's in it for me? What can I take? And it's not much giving. You're giving back now to these young aspiring people that maybe want their own business. Want
an idea.
Yeah, just or learn
how to start. What do we do? Because it's like a rabbit hole to start with, isn't it?
Yeah, and even like work experience. I don't really hear of it much anymore. People go, I can remember. I think, gosh, work experience. I worked with my dad for a week. Doing engineering. Then I worked at Mansfield 103.2 radio.
Wow. Yeah,
so that was actually a pretty, cool experience. But I think just for you, just doing that, I think stands out massively. And obviously for you, it fills your cup up, gives you a sense of fulfillment.
It does, yeah.
So if we kind of fast forward to now, then obviously if we go back, reverse it, childhood sport all the way up to 19, still found that you had a bit of lost identity, found that passion again, working sport, SAQ work, all that kind of stuff. I can remember actually seeing you do that. And also I know you still do a lot of sport specific.
Absolutely.
Do personal training. Obviously now you've got an online business building up as well, but you work specifically with business owners, high performers. What made you? If you look upon reflection, what kind of moved you towards that sort of place?
Yeah, for sure. I think from what I learned at university, from what I've been taught in business with my business mentor, alongside the values that I share with other business owners like yourself: hard work, resilience, communication, good punctuality. All those things resonate, and I also had a look in my existing client base that I had, and 3 or 4 of them were business owners, and I'm like, one, these guys are getting great results. Like, they look great, they feel great, their habits, their health markers have absolutely gone through the roof, they're doubled in strength. And I sort of looked at that like, we've got to double down in this because of the values that we share. There's obviously something there in terms of energy, not necessarily just the results they get, but the guys that I had, it was also almost like we got on so well, and they are long-term clients, and it was one of them where I'd walk into a room or you deliver a check, and it's just like you bounce off each other whenever you saw them, and it goes far beyond that. Outside of that work relationship, it's also like a business friendship, and a friendship as well. Parties, being invited for dinner around houses with partners and stuff like that. So it is that resonation that we have with them that I think really started to want me to sort of go into that specific ideal member.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, it's great what you're sharing because I know a lot of people listening to this are going to admire you and are going to want to connect with you, and we'll get towards that then. Just because you've got such a fresh approach. I want to say fresh, and the reason I say fresh is because there's a lot of what you're sharing that I obviously relate to, but I also stand by, I guess, as well in business and in life. It's really important to be able to be yourself in both.
Yes.
I'd love to ask you, what do you love most about your job?
I think it is building friendships, but changing people's lives matters.
Yeah.
That is at the forefront of my brand identity, is my purpose. And I really do feel as if I was put on this planet to help people.
Right.
Again, from them past experiences I've had as a kid, to help people, life, health, longevity, achieve everything that they want to achieve, and still be able to do the things that they love as well without heavy restriction. And that's a life that I live and put on the forefront of the brand as well. Is I want people to be able to do that without it being too restrictive. And a lot of what we do see in terms of like influencers and social media now, a lot of it is some of it's plastic, isn't it? I think it's really important to be authentic as well. And so that's why that is at the forefront, and how I think people will resonate with that as well. You know, I'm just a lad that loves, you know, having a few drinks with my friends every now and then, and going out for a nice meal, watching the football, having a drink of the football with my dad. I'm just 28-year-old lad that loves doing that stuff, but also loves helping people. So I just want to help people live the best life they possibly can.
Yeah, and have fun.
Have fun.
Whilst doing it, you know, I mean, everything you just said there about, you know, you could say it's a business relationship, but it's like you're seeing him as a friend as well. Somebody you want to spend time with. You don't just want to do programming. You don't just want to, you know, advise them towards like what help them perform better, habits, behaviors, sleep routines, whatever it may be. You're there because you're like, do you know what? Yeah, that is part of it, but also we're a part of it together. But actually, let's go out. I mean, the thing is, right, you'll probably say the same thing. If I wouldn't want to have a coffee with you or have a drink or have a meal with you, then you're not the kind of person I want to be working with, because you're not in it for that. You're in it for the longevity of what's going to come as a result. You'll be friends, but you'll build a result that lasts.
Absolutely, no question. And I don't think there's anything better for me than seeing somebody else's life change from the tools that you've given them as well. It's just a sense of reward and a sense of accomplishment that is just, it's better than no other feeling. It's something that money can't buy as well. You know, you work in the same industry, you have to sort of go after the result. And so how can we change their life? When you get the results, of course, you're going to get that business improvement in our area, but it has to come with helping people first and wanting to help people. And I really think that, very similar to yourself, that has to be at the forefront, and that is what makes us happy as well. You know, keeps me happy, makes me sleep at night knowing that I'm helping other people. And that's and you can't fake that, by the way. No, absolutely. You know, that can't be plastic for a very long time. You know what you're saying with social media, you get found out. You know the real genuine people. So, do you know, I'm not trying to like put you in a comparison to like other coaches or anything like that, Luke, but just from your own confidence, right? Your inner. Sure. What are you great at? What's like your unique thing where you think that is something that I know I'm absolutely not better than? It's not about being better than us, but I'm insane at. It's communicating and understanding other people's emotions and feelings. And this isn't something that I was so good at a few years ago.
I was going to say, going back to where you said you wasn't sharing as much as you were, but now you've checked. I think that ability to tap into someone else's like empathy and sort of take a step out of Luke Ashton and probably have a look and see, well, actually, how is that person feeling? What are they telling me? Because to us, it can be very easy to look and go, just get on with it. But there's so much more to it than that. You've got to understand the person. I think I've really developed on that the past few years. I think that is my superpower now, where is understanding people and understanding how to get the best out of the individual. Because you can easily throw a blanket with like a training program or whatever, throw the blanket. But you could throw the best program, can't you?
You could, and it would probably stick with a couple of people out of 10.
Yes.
But if you can really tap into people on a personal level and find out what really matters to them, what drives them, their motivations, then you're going to get an even better result. So for me, it's about tapping into that person, understanding them as a person, which unlocks that friendship, which then allows you to stack the result on top. So I think it's just that personal ability to unlock is the best part.
And what's helped you then understand people better?
I think understanding myself.
Right.
I think understanding myself and all those little reflections, like what I spoke about.
Space,
and writing things down. Like I've got a mind journal that I write in now, and that Sunday reflection really helps. But also having gone through the journey that I've gone through with parents splitting up, with falling in and out in love with football, from building a business, it's made me find a lot out about myself and my resilient sort of character. That I'm never somebody that will just throw the towel in and will just quit. I will constantly do what I think is right and try different things to get the best outcome. And I think that's what helps all those other people as well. Is I will run through walls for them. Very similar to the guy on the football pitch. I run through walls for them. If they are part of me, I'm part of them, and I'll run through walls for them. So, but definitely understanding myself a little bit more, rather than sort of curling up in a ball a little bit. Again, I'll go back to my dad. My dad was the same. That side of the family, very hard, very very tough. Not that they didn't. I wouldn't say they spoke about emotion a lot, but it was limited in comparison to my mum's side of the family. And as a male, what even is that? I think that is just a personality that I adopted. That I've just got to sort this. I've got to get on with this. But the more I've actually realised it now, actually looking back at that was a load of rubbish. It's okay to feel emotions, and it's okay to reflect on them, because that's what really brings out your personality and your character. Yeah, no, it's really, again, refreshing to hear that. The fact that you've gone back to yourself, right? So, you'll know this as somebody in high performance, coaching individuals, kind of starts for you, right? Ends with you, starts for you. So you can always go to the external and look further afield, but actually when you really go deep, so again, this is what we did, we said right at the beginning of the episode, we're here to go deep, not just hit the surface. It starts with you, and the empathy, the listening, the space that you give your clients, and that there where you said it's your superpower, that you understand, and that way you just said there, you could literally put a blanket on somebody, you could give them a bit of warmth, like a warm blanket, and say, here's another program, but the numbers and the odds are not great, right? It's got to again go deeper on that. So for you now then in like your business, your model, your no, I don't want to go too far into the future, because I know people are like, what's your 5-year plan and stuff, and of course.
It's not always the best question to ask, but what do you ultimately want now for yourself and your business moving forwards? So my ultimate mission is to make sure that the people around me, such as my family and my partner, can live a life where they do not have to worry about finances, where they don't have to look over their shoulder, we don't have to worry about paying those bills. That to me is my mission, is to make sure that the people around me are affected by that. So again, it comes more down to, again, taking care of other people, I think, which is, again, probably one of the superpowers I've got. That's what I truly want. And look, I would love to be able to take this business to a 6-figure business and beyond, and have a lot of people working for me in and around me as sports science, sort of branch off in terms of psychology, nutrition, and another few coaches working for me as well, and sort of take what I've learned from university, what I've learned, in the experience I've had with my business mentor in elite sport, and then really put that around me to help other people. And again, not just look at things like training, nutrition, but also have other people that can help them. So the pressure sort of does come off me a little bit, but then you're providing even more value to the people that we have now, and then them future people we do get on board. That it's a complete, comprehensive performance management process that really is going to provide a higher level of value than what I've ever done before. So I do think that is going to be the best way to help people in the direction that I do want to go. There was once upon a time where I thought about moving away from home a few years ago when I split up with my old partner. I'd left university. Yes. Again, lost my identity a little bit. Of course, it happens again. It's happened again. Would you believe it? And it does happen. Maybe probably happen again. It probably will. It probably will. I think that's a massive important part, though, is why it happens, because it takes you on to the next thing, doesn't it? Sure. Leaving my master's degree, finishing, working with Leicester City Football Club, and still working within the business, I was like, what do I want? I'd have loved to have gone and work in the States as part of like the NBA or an NFL franchise. That was a massive, massive goal of mine. But then it was reflecting on what really mattered to me again. I was like, I truly value like time with my dad on a Saturday afternoon. I'll have to give up my season ticket at Forest, which, by the way, I'm so glad I didn't. Well, where they are now, eh? A couple of years ago, was towards the bottom of the championship. I know. But yeah, that just goes to show what really mattered to me was again, family, being able to provide for them one day. I couldn't have just gone and moved over into New York, a place that I personally love, because I'd just miss this place too much. Sure. And I'd feel like I had done a disservice to my family by moving away because of how much they looked after me. So my ultimate mission now is to look after them and to stay put, maybe be able to move around a little bit, but also make sure that they're okay. Yeah. It's all linking really well. I don't know, as you've gone through this episode, Luke, that you've kind of heard things going on and what you've been saying, but it comes back to a lot to do with obviously your values, the team ethic, the teamwork. Obviously, you've got a business now that's starting to go really well. You've got obviously expansion in your mind where you're thinking actually delegation would come really well in terms of let the expert or let the person that's really great at what they're doing do their thing. I'll do my thing, because as a business owner, we're so many hats to start off with. It's nice to be able to have, like you say, you spoke about, Jake being in administration behind the scenes and stuff like that, helping you out, visuals, there's so much now to a business. And I think it's great that you're going to be helping them as well in terms of their stepping stones in the business, which is brilliant. So we are actually coming towards the end of the episode. I mean, it's mental really, because, even talk to you, there were so many avenues could go down.
Absolutely.
But I'd just love to ask you, and you've obviously listened to the podcast. I do ask every guest this question because, again, it's perspective, but it's your version. I think that's really important. So I'd love to ask you, mate, what does mastering your life mean to you?
Mastering my life, I think achieving the things that I want to achieve, as we've just discussed with that. I will not stop until I've achieved those things. In particular, mastering my life means that I can provide for my family. I can achieve the things that I've wanted to in my career, but also I've done it in a manner that is authentic, and I've stayed as fit, healthy, and as strong as possible to achieve that, because it's only going to help. And again, helping people on not just a local level. I think we help a lot of people at the minute in a regional level, but I want to be able to help people on a global level as well.
Amazing.
And that would fully encompass, I think, mastering your life to me.
Yeah. So impact.
Exactly, just impact
Yeah.
other people's life and helping people is what really gets me ticking. 100%.
Fantastic. And then you being the anchor, right? So obviously you're looking after yourself. So no, I absolutely love that. I've really, really enjoyed this episode, mate. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you online?
If people want to connect me, they can find me on Instagram, Luke Ashton _elite exec. On LinkedIn as well, you can literally connect with me. You'll find me under just Luke Ashton. But Nottingham, born and bred, you'll find me on there. You'll see me probably wearing this exact jumper, actually.
Brilliant.
So feel free to connect with me, drop me a message if there's anything that you're struggling with, and I'm sure be able to share some experiences and help other people, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, look, it'll all be in the show notes, like on YouTube, on other platforms and stuff. But final thing from me, mate, it's been more than a pleasure to have you on. It's been great to know you as well on a deeper level, a bit of space to chat. Because again, you know what it's like, social media, quick. So yeah, from me, I know from Ollie, from Jake, who's sat here in the studio with us, it's been great, mate. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for having me as well. Like you say, in passing, we've been in passing for quite a while. But it's nice to sit down and talk about that as well. A lot of that stuff, which I'll be honest, I've never spoken about before.
Oh, right, okay.
Never spoken about any of that to anyone, so.
No way.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Good. How did it feel, though, actually sharing that?
Really good.
Yeah,
because I'm hoping that other people look at that and we've been through a similar experience, and that it does help them, and this will help me as well, 100%. Now I've spoken about that and spoken about a lot of those things, I'll have a good reflection on this.
There you go, mate. You're checking in what matters. There you go. Brilliant stuff, Luke. Thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy.
You got the last bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Because that was unbelievable.
That was the best bit.
Boom, mate. Yeah,
he's rolling. He's got to be rolling.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to our episode. If you've got any feedback or any questions for us in regards to our in-person podcast episodes, just either drop a comment below, send us a message, and we would love to hear any sort of feedback, and we'll respond within 24 hours and make sure that the next episode is invaluable to your ears. Take care.